I really, for me, it's pretty simple. I think most people's sort of journeys tend to be very similar. When I was a kid, I was just, I was the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. I was inside all the time. I was just watching stuff, shows and movies and things. And it really just was like escapism 101. You just completely get lost into this world and you form this ridiculously deep connection with movies. And a lot of people, when they fall in love with film, they watch everything. I didn't. When I really fell in love with film, there were just specific things that I used to watch and just love, specific genres and things like that. And then the more you do it, the more you realize that this isn't just a hobby. This is almost creepy. This is something that I really am I don't want to use the word obsessed, but I'm really getting something here. As to why, there are loads of deep answers for that. Some people say it's because you want to get things in movies that you don't get in real life. For me, I think watching movies makes my real life better. I think everything from what they teach you about the world to what they teach you about sort of human beings and relationships. There's so much we learn from movies. I remember, this is a very random example. I remember I once talked to a film critic and he said that especially in India, you have no idea how much we learn about from the movies, especially about relationships. Like, for example, the basic relationship skills. We don't really see affection around us, whether it's our parents or anything else. And that is one very specific facet where, like, how much did we all learn growing up from sort of Hollywood movies and things like that? And that teaches us so much. And it's just a specific example, but it just teaches you so much, which you don't really get access to in your life. And yeah, from there on, I just fell in love and started writing about movies. And now I'm here. As a film journalist, there are many two things that come to mind. Firstly, as you said, I don't use the word entertaining. A film has to be engaging. That word can mean any number of things, but it really has to be engaging. It has to sort of reach out to you and grip you in some sense or the other. And the other lens you're looking at is how well you're trying to assess the wrong word, analyze a film in context. How well does it do what it set out to do? Which is a really important point, because another thing a lot of sort of reviewers face is how can you give a Rohit Shetty film, a positive review, but a Vishal Bhardwaj film a negative review, and you're not. It's sort of not a sort of comparison point. You're judging or assessing or analyzing a film based against itself, what it set out to do and how well you feel it set out to do that, as well as just how it made you feel. It really is about how a film makes you feel. Everyone has a different way of watching films, but it really is about how did a film make me feel, and most importantly, which is the tricky part, why. That justification is the toughest part, and also being able to write that in a way that makes human sense and is engaging in itself. But how did the film achieve what it set out to? How did it make you feel? And most importantly, justifying your points. If you think something's a terrible performance, why? It's very easy to come out of a film saying that was disappointing. We feel it all of the time. Really tell me why. What is it that you think worked and didn't work? And yeah, I think that's essentially the aim. I can tell you what film criticism should do, what critics should be doing. I'm sure there can be some who do that, but it's also very easy to sort of paint them as these evil people trying to rip a movie apart. No, there should never be an agenda as such. This is something Anupama Chopra always used to say, and it really stuck with me. Ideally, you should be able to sit on that theater seat, and every Friday, when you're watching that movie, whatever the film, whether it's silly or fun or action or commercial, genuinely believe that this could be your next favorite film. This could change my life. And you need to really try your best to sort of go in with that mentality and really be open, really let the film happen. And then obviously if it really messes you up in all the wrong ways and you think it's terrible, fine. But every film deserves a chance. There is not a single film where I really think anyone's entitled to an opinion until they've seen it. I don't care if it's a Tiger Shroff film or whatever. If you haven't seen it, you're not really entitled to an opinion. And every film can surprise you. You and me have both watched so many films where we thought X and we were pleasantly surprised, and vice versa. You go in with all these expectations and it was very disappointing. So the agenda is never to tear down a film. If anything, tearing down a film is getting easier and easier. So many people are doing it. Everyone does it online. So honestly, I think over time, I see the role of criticism even more to champion a film. Obviously, if a film doesn't work for you, you say it. And that's the case with most films, unfortunately, in India anyway, the mainstream stuff. But it really is that you're really trying to champion it, or really trying to find the gems and, really trying to give them a voice and give them a platform. Yes, I don't know if I'd call it fatigue. A couple of things happen. The biggest fear you have is I'm watching something and I'm not giving it all my attention. This is that whole that debate of big screen versus at home. If I'm watching it on the big screen, it has my entire focus. At home, maybe it doesn't. things like that. Having said that, in my experience, what I found is if something is going to completely overwhelm you in a good or bad way, how you watch it might impact it slightly, 15%, things like that. But if it's something really significant that really is going to sort of hit you hard, it's going to do that regardless of how you watch it. One thing that does that, but that is a fear I have. I really want to, even the smallest thing you're watching, you want to give it your all so you can do justice to when you're discussing it. The other one is, like you said, when you're watching 2-3 things back to back, there's so many times when I'll watch something and I feel like that's kind of changed my life a bit. 0.5% of my existence is now altered because of that. But then you jump to something else, and that some films you want to stay with them. They leave you with the best kind of hangover, and that sort of gets erased when you jump to the next thing. And the also other thing that happens is just when you watch a lot of things back to back of a certain way, a lot of bad films back to back, they will bog you down. This happens at film festivals a lot, where if you watch 4 depressing films together, like it really will impact you. That will mess up a lot of what's inside. So those kinds of things tend to happen. So it's less fatigue. It's more, I really want to do justice to this thing. And if it really affects me, I want to hold on to that feeling. But it's unavoidable. I've heard this question so many times, and I've asked this question so many times, and I still don't have an answer. Okay, so it used to be that most film journalism came out of journalism. It became the people who had studied journalism, wanted to be journalists, went through that route, studied it, worked for publications, and sort of worked on the entertainment desk. That used to be one route to go about it. More recently, the internet is completely democratized. Everyone's writing. Some of the best writing you'll see on films are personal people on their blogs. They don't work for, actual publications. I never studied journalism. I was a banker, and I just fell in love with movies, and I started writing about movies. And then one thing led to another. I started writing about them, started freelancing, and now I'm here doing this. So, which is a lot of people's stories. So, honestly, the most important thing is just start writing. You have to keep writing. I used to review films for myself for like 2-3 years. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it now, but that's the most essential part, to really be able to basically to prove that you've got it in you. I mean, most people can't even stand. It sounds like film criticism is so exciting. You get to watch film for a living. It's so cool. Most people can't stand the stamina of you have to watch everything. Where in a place like India, the majority of it is not going to take your interest. So you have to watch everything. You have to have that stamina. You need to write about it. So it's not as glamorous. And the first thing I'd say is just start a blog, do it for free, start writing, prove that you can do it and you want to do it. And at that point, once you have a base of articles to yourself, your portfolio, you can start reaching out to publications saying, look, this is me, this is what I want to write. Get a sense of what that publication writes about and what you want to pitch to them. Send them your stuff. If they like who you are and you're writing, then you have bylines to your name. As you build bylines, you have some sort of a portfolio and you can apply for stuff. That's a very simplistic way to answer that. But yeah, that's an outsider's perspective because I never studied journalism. I know people who have.
Right.
Again, two things. The word bias is interesting. People keep saying, unbiased review. That's even a tag for certain YouTube videos, unbiased review. What is bias? If you're saying that I'm not getting paid to review this is my honest review is a term. That's great. If you're saying, but there's this thing that people say, critics shouldn't have an agenda, you should be objective. I don't know what objective means. In the sense that there's no such thing as genuine objectivity, right? You are responding to the film personally.
Absolutely.
There really isn't. And the only other thing is, like you said, filmmakers will attach certain significance to certain aspects because they know what went into that. But that's not, the audience doesn't see that. Do you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
We respond to what we see. I remember in Tumbad, they were talking about a scene. They cut out one of the biggest scenes of the film. They cut out entirely. And it was the most heartbreaking decision because they had gone all out making a massive set of a city and they removed it because it wasn't working. Now, if they had left that in, maybe the audience would feel that this felt random. For them, you think about the hard work and immense sort of, work that went into creating that. But at the end of the day, it's about the end product. It's about the film you have made. Unfortunately for an audience, for people responding to it, the 2 years that you spent to get into your character is admirable, but I'm interested in the 2.5 hours that it was in front of me on screen, which is the reality of the thing. So yeah, but it's a very, filmmakers and critics, a very interesting relationship.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video, and if you like what we do, follow us on our socials and check out our other uploads.